Okay, before we start painting the background that's going to end up being our snowy hills when we work on this next week, the first thing I want you to do is make sure you have your name on the back of your paper and your class code. When you're finished, go ahead and flip it over. Your paper should be a little bit taller than it is wide, so portrait style. And what we're going to do is we're going to be adding some blue to white to make a tint. And down here in this first little section, we're going to be making a very, very light blue. So we're just going to add a little tiny bit of blue to our white, and it's going to make almost a white looking blue down here at the bottom. The middle part, we're going to make a little bit darker. So we're going to add some more blue to our white paint to make it a little bit darker shade. When we get to the very top part, we're going to add even more blue to it, so the top part should be darker than the other two sections. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a cup of white paint like this. You're also going to have some blue paint at your table. And then I gave you a piece of construction paper because you're going to paint all the way from side to side. This will help keep it off the table, and when we're done, we can just throw that blue construction paper away, or whatever color it is that I gave you. So, in order to make our really light color first, I'm going to take just a dab of blue, not even a whole brush really, just kind of dip it in just a little bit. And then I'm going to mix it into my white really, really good. You want to mix it up so you don't get a lot of streaks. These cups that I'm giving you are very, very thin, so you don't want to push onto them very hard because it might break through. So kind of hold the bottom as you stir it around and just kind of stir it gently. And if you notice, I've made almost a whitish baby blue color. That's going to be for our bottom layer. So we're going to do about 1/3 of our paper. So once you get your nice light baby blue color, you're going to go from side to side. And sometimes that blue shows through, but as you paint back and forth, it'll kind of mix it together and make it just one even color. Notice how I'm going all the way to the edge of the paper, and I'm kind of going back and forth just to make sure that I've got that paint mixed in really good and it's nice and smooth across there. When I get about 1/3 of the way, so I still have 2 more sections up here for my next paints, I'm going to make this blue a little bit darker. So I'm going to take a big gob of blue this time on my paintbrush, and I'm going to start mixing it into my paint, my white paint. Again, these cups are very, very flimsy, so don't push too hard, because it might tear right through the cup. I think I want it just a tiny bit darker, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it so that I have kind of a good, maybe a little bit more, maybe about 2 paintbrushes full, I'm guessing. Kind of mix it in really, really good. And it's going to be just a little shade darker, a little tint darker than what we had before. So what you're going to do is in the middle, you're going to kind of paint across another stripe from side to side. Again, going back and forth, trying to blend it into your paper. It's okay if you have it on the construction paper, like I said. We'll throw that away when we're done. And you can kind of see the difference between the light blue and the blue that's a little bit darker. Now on the top part, we're going to make a really dark blue. So I'm going to get a big, huge gob of blue. Add that in, maybe a little bit more blue in there. And I'm going to mix it around until I get a color that I like. That's just a little bit darker than the last color we used. I'm going to mix it up really, 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 really good. And then I'm going to end up painting the top part. Now, it's hard to hold your paper at this point because everything's got paint. So I would hold it up kind of in the top corner with my 2 fingers. Make sure you're not getting your clothes on your paper and getting paint on top of your clothes. So you want to not be leaning over your paper. You just kind of want to stretch your fingers up here and then start painting side to side. Now this one's just a tiny bit darker. I could have went a little more darker if I wanted to, but I think this will work. I could even add just a little bit more blue in there and kind of mix that together, because the more you paint back and forth with this paint, the more it blends in on your paper. And up here at the top, just kind of be careful with your fingers and kind of hold it to where you can paint that last little piece right up there. So now we have a gradient, which means it's just a color that goes from lighter to darker as you go on. Once you're finished painting your 3 colors, we're actually going to put them up to dry until next week. So raise your hand, let me know you're finished, I can come check it. And when you go to put it on the drying rack, you're going to kind of carefully lift it up under like this so you don't get your fingerprints on it. Kind of slide your hands under it, and you're going to want to get 2 hands under it really good. And then you can go over it and then just slide it into the drying rack, and it will be ready for next week. When you're all done, you can throw this construction paper away, and then you can go ahead and put your brush over in the brush bath, and along with your paint stuff and your cup of paint, you can just throw away.